So the chanting of the Metta Sutta, I find that really beautiful. One of the kind of for spiritual literature, I find it one of the most beautiful creations of human literature. I look at it as literature, as words, and we have that capacity to bring um, beauty into our consciousness, not not the beauty of sensuality, but the beauty of the heart. And in terms of like thoughts about enlightenment and so on, sometimes that can seem very selfish. I want to get enlightened. It's not, but sometimes it can sound that way. But when we couch it in terms of the Brahma Viharas, it's quite different attitude, a very beautiful attitude, because the Brahma Viharas are the opposite of selfishness. And so any references to that, I always find inspiring. Someone in the Sangha asked me, how did I develop Metta Bhavana? And I never developed it in the classical way. I mean, I read about it and I tried it, where you have the list of people and so on and so forth. I found that was too much for me in thought, although it needn't be. It can point to something deeper than thought. So I've always found images and pictures the most useful in that way. And I use images and pictures a lot to try to stimulate the heart chakra. I try to do that a lot too. And so I was telling them my current pictures are, well, I always have a picture of mom and I have a shrine, and I continually light a candle to her. And what I try to do is when I look at her picture, I try to go to the heart rather than remember specifically the person with certain stories of whatever, but rather that the image reminds me of a very profound love and that I feel here. And so I try to stimulate that a lot as an exercise in um, awakening and encouraging that which is quite natural. The heart is tamachat, right? It's not something I'm really creating. It's just I'm stimulating something. So just as I suppose, as doing push-ups would strengthen your biceps, as an exercise. I think exercises of compassion are quite realistic. Um, so I use pictures, and so my latest two pictures. um, I've there's one picture of a woman from Libya, and Libya had some very bad floods. I think a dam broke, and like 3,000 people or some massive amount of people suddenly dead. And the picture is of a Muslim woman. She has a headscarf on, and the caption is she's lost most of her family, and she's holding herself like this in abject suffering. It's really, really quite a painful picture. So I look at that, but then I don't go to the sense of, oh my gosh, what will what's going to happen to these poor people? Rather, I just take it back to the heart. And it's what's really interesting about it. I kind of can have empathy for her, but my heart's very peaceful. Whereas if I go to the head, it's just like it's so impossible. How to how is this person going to deal with life? And so if I go to thought, if I was working for UNHCR or Red Cross, I'd have to go to thought. Okay, how can we serve these people? But that's not my place right now. And so I just sit there and let it really, really penetrate my heart. And I find it both beautiful in that way, even though I'm looking at a very painful picture. But the beauty isn't about um, like a nice marble floor. It's about our inner possibility of compassion. And But then what's also interesting, then I found another picture, and this is a really beautiful picture of um, three people in the photo, and one is uh, a woman. What's her name? Irina Kapakotova or something. Is a Russian ballet teacher. She's 92 years old, and she's one of the most foremost ballet teachers. How do I look at these pictures? I don't know. I just appear. So she's probably 5 foot tall. And if she's standing in front of a man who is 6 foot tall, and she's got her hands extended on his shoulders, so her head goes up to his neck. She's a tiny, tiny woman, and that's obviously one of her students. And he's looking down at her, and he's really radiant, and she's radiant. And then you have a third person in the picture, another dancer, who is looking at both of them, and she's radiant. They're just these three radiant beings. And for me, that's mudita. This joy of human relationship, which seems very, very loving and very wholesome and very beautiful. And you know what I do? Then I do the same thing. I bring attention to my heart, and actually it's the same feeling. It's the same heart. It's the same loving heart, even though the circumstances are so diametrically opposed. Um, Certainly, there's a quality of joy in seeing the dancers, and a quality of sorrow in seeing the woman Libya. But where that comes from is I find is from the heart. So I play around a lot with that. I like to experiment with the mind, and rather than just have a formula or a technique. And so I find those kinds of like if you watch news, and I don't suggest you watch news. If you just watch do you know what the word doom scrolling is? Doom is like bad, and scrolling is where you keep going through one headline after another headline, and it's all bad. The world is melting. We're going to be flooded in Bangkok in next year, and everyone's got AIDS, and just like that's called doom scrolling, and it's very depressing if you do that. But if you just take it more like just one image of human suffering, you see, well, birth is this way. Birth has suffering, and then you can try to act. So angel group acts to help folk in non. So this is what karuna should be doing. It should be stimulating our um, intention to act, to help in whatever way we can. But just as meditators and as contemplatives, to exercise this part, I think is very, very important and rewarding. It is very, very rewarding in that way. I'm not trying to achieve anything. It's not that. It's just a natural human capacity to feel life in a way which isn't just intellectual or worrisome or angry or fearful. It's from the heart. So I do that a lot. And then one of the ways I contemplate upeka, because I think um, so you have for those online folk who don't know the Brahma Viharas, they are loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, mudita, empathetic joy, upekkha, equanimity, peacefulness. So one of the ways I play around with that is, say, if I'm walking from here to my chalet, I can't call it a kuti, to my chalet. And it is a chalet. And sometimes I botanize. You know what botanizing is? You look at, oh, there's a begonia. Well, look at that. Or there's a well, there's lights are on, air conditioning. So I botanize. I look at plants, and I say, oh yeah, we have that in little pots, and they have them really big here. So then I look at objects. I'm looking at the well, I really look at floors now, slippery floors too, so I don't fall. So then sometimes I do that, but also I can walk I can, do you mind? Okay. I can, I can walk to my chalet and I can bring up the perception that this movement of experience is in awareness. So it's like, how do you say it? Like when I'm on the objects, I'm looking at the colors and things like that. But when I make this perception as a part of my playing around with the mind, I thought, well, this experience is in awareness. And then there's movement, bodily feeling, changing visual perception, depth, distance, kuti, chalet, coming closer and closer. But the perception now is that this is in awareness. So this is the way I contemplate background. And what happens there is then there's this noticing of the constant stillness of consciousness. Consciousness or stillness or awareness has no character, it has no boundaries, it has no quality. It's not sweet or sour. It knows sweet or sour. And so I try to relate that way, both in my meditation and in daily life. So that's one of the ways I might do a part of a walking meditation. So I used to, like all of us probably, I used to try to concentrate and not think. Count the steps, don't think, count the steps, don't think. There I go, I'm thinking again. That was quite stressful, that mode of control. Then I began to relax more and just notice thought as an object. That worked better for me. And then I began to say that the moods of the mind condition the thinking. So I began to label, and I'd say, worry feels like this. And I'd see that it was connected to thinking. That helped me a lot to see thinking as an object. Planning feels like this. Um, Resenting feels like this. Regretting feels like this. So labeling the kind of underlying tendency which is creating the thinking. That was very helpful. And then I started to play around with the perception of that this experience of change is in awareness. And that became quite a peaceful way to do walking meditation because now it's no longer about the object. It was just about the background. And I didn't fall off the path. I didn't run into a tree. Somehow it was okay. So then I'll do that with my robe. And these robes are difficult to wear, by the way. I'll be putting the robe on. Yeah, I need some focus, but I've done it for 50 years, so I kind of know how to do it. It keeps falling off, but then I'll just say, is this experience? This is an experience in awareness. So then there's that sense of witnessing the experience of a guy called Viradhammo putting his robe on. It's very, very curious. And this is my sense of background foreground. It's the metaphor I like. That the background, consciousness, puru, awareness, and all of that is boundless. It has no quality. It has no taste. But it knows. It's knowing. And so when we say puru, if we try to find that as an object, when we have a concept, we sometimes assume that the concept is an object. Well, puru is not an object, but it is an experience. Yeah, it's not an object that you can find, like I can find where the kitchen is, or I can find where my clock is. That's an object I can find. But that knowing isn't an object that I can find, but it is an experience because it's knowing, without consciousness, without awareness, nothing would happen. Wouldn't be possible. So that's why I say Luangpor Viradhammo would say, be the knowing, be puru, rather than try to find puru as an experience. And so that's the way I play around with that. I've been walking down to my chalet, and and then this experience is in awareness, and that's how I kind of incline towards upekkha. Now, upekkha, certainly equanimity, you can see in the course of a lifetime, as you mature as a human being, your emotional reactivity lessens. So there's that obvious way of upeka where I used to have road rage and now I'm choi choi. It's a Bangkok traffic jam, fine. And another 2 hours, okay, that's just the way it is now. And so I think that's a natural maturation of any adult. Hopefully, that we all, when we were younger, we were very reactive, and now we're less reactive. So that's important. That's important. But deeper than that, I think deeper than that, equanimity is that deep peacefulness, which is the background, rather than the foreground. And the foreground can be quite beautiful and lovely. Um, it's not, it's not really about making a judgment about the foreground, but it's just seeing that there is this stillness, spacious stillness, which is always available if one is available to it. So these aren't techniques, but there are ways of maybe, yeah, just play around with some of these ideas and try to make them. I try to see where are they as a reality. You can think you know something through knowledge and be very clever, but it's not the same as experience. Like I've been learning weaving recently, and I have a lovely loom, and I've been reading about watching YouTube videos on how to weave. Very complicated, and I think I understand it. But when I get to the loom and try to get this thing set up, oh, it is like spaghetti junction. There's all kinds of, and wow, this is confusing. But then I apply my mind, I apply my mind. Oh, I get it, okay. And then I have a confidence. Now that's different than knowledge, isn't it? It's so much different than knowledge. The knowledge helps me to make the investigation. So to think that by having, clever ideas about Buddhism, that's liberation, it's not. It can be a false trail, actually, kind of false knowing. Say, I don't know in Thai education system, but I've met many like Sri Lankan folk who have gotten A levels, university entrance exams. They got A's in Buddhism, but they never really contemplated Four Noble Truths. They never really internalized it as a kind of experience. So there's intelligence, but not wisdom. So we're trying to then take the intelligence of this beautiful teaching and then internalize it until we're free. And freedom is something you can't fake. You can't, you can't fake that. If you're suffering, you're suffering. No one else might know, but you know. And attending to that by using the teachings interestingly, that's the way to liberation. So when we talk about Nirodha, um, and again, going back to that, part of Nirodha must be the cessation of fear. Right? So we say cessation of desire, but fear is a kind of desire, correct? And anger is a kind of a desire, and self-judgment is a kind of desire. So if you look at it that way, and then you witness, say, let's say, you have some kind of social anxiety, like you don't have the right handbag for this experience, right? You go to some function, or I ask you to give the talk tomorrow. Okay, like I always make this horrible joke with people. Okay, tomorrow you're all going to submit your names on a little tag, and then Vibun's going to have a basket, and then Vibun's going to take at 8:30 tomorrow morning. He's going to say, and Yom blah, 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 will now give the Dhamma talk. No one would come at 8:30. You'd all stay in your kuti. So even though we're all very good friends, and you'll still get fed no matter what you say, you experience social anxiety, right? Now, um, so that would be a condition which arose from other causes. So when that does arise, and I'm not going to do this to you, I promise, otherwise you won't be here tomorrow morning. But if that should happen, and you have some kind of social situation where, for instance, you feel social anxiety or fear, then if you make it conscious and you witness it, then you begin to know what the path of freedom of social anxiety is. It's Ben Puru. that this experience of social anxiety is in awareness. If you just run away, that would feel nice, but maybe then you'd always be kind of, oh, here it comes. I have to get away. So running away from that, we all do that to some extent. But if you see that the path of liberation is the path of making things conscious, so then then you're asked to do something and you feel, no, I'm gonna take on this project or this challenge and look at social anxiety as an object rather than be the subject. And if I look at it as the object, then the tendency towards social anxiety or fear falls away, and that's an eroda. Whereas the desire mind doesn't want to feel that, so I run away from it. And that's, it could be anger, it could, so many different things. So that perception that this is in awareness is, I find, very, very helpful. You can do that like say the fluttering of electricity now. So we're all kind of attracted to that, and especially this poor guy, because it's his responsibility. But you can notice, like, okay, that tendency to be attracted to an object is in awareness. Now, awareness knows that attraction, Chema. It just knows that. And so then you play around with that. You just do that. Okay, this is in awareness. You have to be silent. This is in awareness. And there's movement, right? But that awareness is not movement. And if you do, I think if you do exercise that is around the ordinary, then the extraordinary, called your fears and desires, you've trained your mind to know, oh, this fear is in awareness. It's not me, not mine. Because you just played around with simple things like this. Like at breakfast, I was doing carrots, and I said, carrots. I would focus on the. I only had 3 carrots, by the way, it was 3 pieces. But I'd focus on the carrot. The carrot, tasting carrot feels like this, and then I said, but the experience of tasting is in awareness, and I could see, well, that's the same silence. Okay, eating is like this. Now again, I used to kind of concentrate and count my mouths. Horrible, horrible way to eat a meal. 1, 2, and after all, I thought, do I want to live like this? Is this what life is about? Counting the number of mouthfuls? And no, no thanks. So then I just enjoyed food, and then I felt guilty about that or whatever. But then, yeah, just kind of, oh, yeah, this experience of eating is in awareness. Very interesting to play around with. So let's stretch our legs, and I'll thought I'd just do a meditation on the heart. Again, if you have practices which work, and this seems like, oh, not another method, don't worry about it. It's just a kind of suggestion. And I have to do something to earn my rice, right? So that's the thing. So let's take a short break. Let's do a meditation where we go to the heart chakra by using the breath. I've used this often. So set up your posture, and it's very helpful to do this exercise of listening first. So receptive awareness. Let the sounds just come to you. So you're not going out looking, seeking a sound, searching for a sound. You're not judging sound. Sound is as it is. So the Lomposomeros, it's like this. Sound is like this. Notice how the mind settles, the silence of no thought. So you have the sounds. Now perceive sound as in awareness. You could say, like, the sound of the bird is out there, the sound of the bamboo is out there, the wind, so on. Or you could also say the feeling of out there is in awareness. So awareness is like the container or the space. And now be that awareness, witnessing the changing nature of sound. Non-becoming, non-resistance, and Yang Yang. It's like this. Feel the breathing of the body. Welcome the in-breath. Let go on the out-breath. Connect with the breathing by making it a bit deeper. Long breath in, long breath out. Just connect with the body with deeper breathing. Try to make the in-breath the same length as the out-breath. Long breath in, long breath out. Let go at the end of the out-breath. Let the in-breath just take care of itself. Keep the breath long. So if you start thinking, your breath will become shallow again. Long breath in, long breath out. Let your breath become normal. Welcome the in-breath. Let go with the out-breath. Bring your attention to the chest. Feel the chest rising, falling with the breath. Welcoming the in-breath rising, letting go with the out-breath falling. Attention at the center of the chest. If you feel sleepy, then make the breath longer, deeper. On the in-breath, imagine someone you love, someone in your family, a teacher. Name them, visualize them. On the in-breath, bring them into the center of the chest. So I remember Luangpor Sumedo, Luangpor on the in-breath. On the out-breath, may you be well. Luangpor's name and image remind me of my love for him, my respect, gratitude, all of that. So when I name him, there's that in the perception of Luangpor. So Luangpor opens the heart. May you be well. Stimulates that open-heartedness. Luangpor, may you be well. So repeat that with one person. So we're not thinking about this person, we're just connecting to the image and feeling in the heart that comes up automatically when we think of someone we love. Could be gratitude, loving kindness, joy. You just keep repeating the name and visualizing the image if you want. So because the mind gets bored with this or you get sleepy, then you change the image. You kind of refresh that same heartfelt sense of loving kindness. So you bring another person to heart, name them, visualize them. On the in breath, the name. On the out breath, may you be well. It's the same pattern, different person. Change again. Bring a person into the heart. Now, one of the people that is working in this center, one of the gardeners or Yoma Uraiwan, someone who is helping us here. Imagine them on the in breath, out breath, may you be well. And just a fourth person, then someone among our group of yogis, someone from the angel group or Kalyanamitta here as we meditate together. Bring this person to heart. And then I suggest cycle through these four people again. First person, for me, Luangpor Sumego. Luangpor, may you be well. Another person, someone on the staff here, and then one of us in the room. And just cycle out through those four people because your mind will wander, gets bored easily. And the remembering of another person kind of refreshes that attitude. Try to stay centered at the chest. And do this as long as you want. And then if you want, just let go of the names and the images, just breathing in at the heart, loving kindness, breathing out at the heart, loving kindness, breathing in, breathing out, centered at the chest. So experiment with that, play around, but do stimulate that sense of loving kindness as much as possible.